Well, we're doing another GSL.
Right.
This was the great model car championship that was held in Salt Lake City. This is the last one they're ever going to do.
Right. And boy, I have never seen such a turnout.
It was huge.
Right.
Biggest one ever and last one ever. Anyway, this week we're going to be looking at the competition cars and the muscle cars. A muscle car is kind of the same thing as a competition car.
Right.
They're sort of like a race car that was never intended for the racetrack, but was rather intended for driving around.
Showing off.
These are both pace cars.
Wow, I love that one.
Isn't that pretty? I've always loved that orange and white paint scheme that they did on the early Camaros.
It's like a dreamsicle, but just the dream. Wow.
And then it wouldn't be a muscle car if there wasn't muscle under the hood.
Oh, that's right.
So we're kind of combining drag strip cars and circle track cars, road racing cars, any kind of competition car. So this is a funny car. I never quite figured out why they say funny.
They never turned me on particularly when I was a kid, but now I'm okay with them.
I love them. They're sort of like a rail, but they look like a car. So I guess that's funny.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Now this is a car that we covered in the last show. It's definitely a competition car. But I just wanted to use this car to point out that so much of what we're seeing here is scratch built.
It's amazing.
I mean, a few of these cars are just straight out kits with a small amount of detailing or no detailing at all. But a lot of them are essentially scratch built cars, machined out of metal, all different techniques used. Some of them use a cast body, a resin body that they picked up somewhere, and then everything else is scratch built. But so much of what we're seeing, especially here in the competition area, is all scratch made.
Oh, when they say competition, let me tell you what.
Yeah, the real competition is the model car show.
Oh, man.
There were quite a few Cobras, Ford Cobras here, and similar cars, very similar ilk. Cobras have just always been one of my favorite cars of all time.
Well, they're something else altogether.
And they have some, there's Ferraris that are similar. Look at this one. The one on the right there is a TBird.
Right.
Doesn't look like a TBird, looks like a Cobra.
It does. It's painted up like one.
Yeah, and it's got the same basic power plant and everything that you'd see in one of these, a Cobra.
Right.
Now, this Cobra right here, the number 15, is one that we've had some personal experience with.
Right.
And it was just really fun to see it pop up here at the model car show. But this was the original car, the 15 car, was used on the cover of Hey Little Cobra by the Ripcords.
Oh, neat.
And a local Salt Lake businessman, Larry Miller, bought that album on vinyl.
Yes.
When he was a teenager, fell in love with the music, but more importantly, fell in love with the car. That number 15 Cobra. And later in life, he started collecting Cobras.
Oh, boy.
Put together the most fabulous collection of Cobras and other racing Fords as well.
Beach.
Anyway, shortly before Larry Miller passed away, the number 15 came up at auction.
It did?
And he said, I'm gonna have it. And the bidding got furious, and the car ended up going for 3 times what it was worth. But there it is.
Wow.
Larry got himself the number 15 car just because it was on that record cover. And by gosh, he was going to have it.
Wow.
And we got to see it. They would just let us go into the collection out there and walk around.
Yeah, those were the days.
Yeah, the collection's in Colorado now.
Yeah.
But back then, we could just go in there and look at it whenever we wanted.
Right.
And there it is, the number 15.
That's wild.
Just sort of popped up here at the GSL.
That is wild.
This is amazing. This is a Shelby GT350R model.
Oh, neat.
Oh, so rare. Of course, Larry had one.
Yeah.
But the race version of the GT350 65 Mustang. Just, I love seeing these things. You don't see them very often because I think they only built 12 of them.
Oh, dear, yeah.
There have been a lot more models than that built. And this is a 68 GT500 KR.
Right, and this one almost looks familiar. Except
Does
it's red.
Yeah, it's red. Ours is blue.
The real one.
But oh man, you gotta love a Shelby. Now, some of the cars in the competition, the builders provided a build book.
That's handy. That way you can document the journey on building your model.
Well, and a lot of times you have no idea what you're really looking at. Is it a kit? Is it scratch built? What was scratch built? So if somebody puts together this level of documentation and then they had a special table where you could set out your build book.
Right. What was lacking in my build book was the temper tantrum when I built the one car. That would have been the Camaro.
Uh-huh.
Yep, the build book would have had a few pages torn out of it.
And a few parts thrown.
Yes,
It's so challenging. Cars, I think, are the hardest thing there are to build.
Oh, man, especially the paint. That's why my hat goes off to these guys.
Now this is an Alfa Romeo, 8-cylinder 2300cc Alfa Romeo. It was a famous car in the 1930s, but this is also a famous kit.
I should say.
This was Arnaldo Pocher. After he split off from Rivarossi, he was making train models before that, and he wanted to do automotive subjects. This was the second model that he ever produced, the Alfa Romeo, and he offered it in two versions. This is the Monza version here. Oh, what a neat car and what an amazing kit. Now, a lot of people don't realize it, but back before the innovations with plastics, model cars were made out of paper.
Isn't that wild? I just can't imagine such a thing.
And there it is. I sit down with scissors and paper and build a car.
Wow.
Now, these cars are in a lot of different scales, but some of them are in a 1/48 scale.
That's just tiny.
And look at the amazing detail
Right.
in a 1/48 scale car.
Like how?
Yeah, blows the mind.
Yes.
Now, a lot of modelers have gone to using computer design and 3D printing, but the classic techniques with machining parts still is the underpinning of the entire hobby. But it's really neat to see some of these new innovations coming along in modeling. These are all 3D prints.
They're just wonderful.
Well, we still have motorcycles and rat finks, and we have a lot more to show.
Oh, there was tons of stuff at the show.
Yeah, and we've covered a lot of it, but there's still a lot more to cover. So you don't want to miss that.
Right.
So if you're not a subscriber to the channel, please subscribe by clicking on the upcoming blue button. Are we ready for that? Zoink! Right there, the blue button. Well, we're not sure how you found this video on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring, and we'll see you here on Tuesday. We'll see you then.
We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.